On March 31st, 1922, 6 people went to sleep on a farm 70 kilometers north of Munich. 4 days later, smoke was still coming from their chimney. That's not a mistake, that's the case. Someone killed a whole family on that farm. Then someone fed their cows, lit their stove, ate their bread, slept under their roof with their bodies in the barn. For 3 days. You need to understand that order. The murder is not the weirdest part. The staying is. Go back to March 1922. Picture Hinterkaifeck. One farm, 1 kilometer behind the hamlet of Kaifeck. Woods on 3 sides. No road light, no phone. The house and barn joined together. That's normal for Bavaria. The living quarters shared a wall with the stable. You could hear the animals from your bed. And by the end of that Friday, 6 people were dead inside. 2 of them were children. 1 was 7, 1 was 2. And the killer did not leave. He stayed. You will hear people call this a ghost story. It isn't. It is a lodging story. Start with the family, because you need to know who lived there before you can understand why someone wanted them dead. The old man ran the farm. He was 63. Andreas Gruber. Hard, mean, say the neighbors. His wife was 72. Cecilia Gruber. She kept the house. Their daughter was 35. Victoria Gabriel. A widow. Her husband Carl Gabriel had been reported dead in France. December 12, 1914. At Arras. Body never found. She had 2 children. A girl 7, also called Cecilia. And a boy 2, Joseph. Born September 7, 1919. That's 5. Add the maid and you have 6. Now picture late March 1922. Bavaria is not rich. The war is 4 years over. Money is paper. Farms matter because they have food. Hinterkaifeck had food. It had a big house. A barn stuck to the house. A machine room for the chopper engine. Woods pressing in on the north side. The nearest real town is Schrobenhausen, about 6 kilometers away. Munich is 70 kilometers south. That's an hour by train today. Then it was a day's trip. The first omen came as paper. Andreas found a newspaper on his farm. It was from Munich, not the local Schrobenhausen paper. No one nearby subscribed to it. Andreas did not buy it. He told his neighbors. He thought the postman lost it. The postman said no. No one had lost it. So someone brought it and left it. Why would you walk a kilometer behind Kaifeck to drop a newspaper you do not read? The second omen came as feet. A few days before the murders, Andreas found tracks in fresh snow. They led from the edge of the forest to the farm, to a door into the machine room. The lock on that door was broken. An attempt to force it, he said. The tracks were single direction. In. No tracks out. Think about that. Picture fresh snow like a white sheet. 1 line of prints cutting across it. Coming in. Stopping at the wall. Not going back. That means the feet that made them did not leave the way they came. Or they did not leave at all. He told people. He told his neighbor Lorenz Schlittenbauer, who would later find the bodies. He told others. He refused help. He was that kind of man. The kind who thinks asking for help makes you look weak. You will see that pride again. The third omen was sound. At night, the family heard steps in the attic, above their heads. Heavy steps, back and forth. Andreas climbed up. No one there. Nothing moved. But the sound came back. It had come before. About 6 months earlier, the previous maid had quit. Crescens Rieger was her name. She worked from November 1920 to September 1921. She said the house was haunted. She heard voices. She heard steps. She felt watched. She left. People later said she was right. The fourth omen was a key. The house key went missing. Days before March 31st. Not misplaced. Gone. In a farmhouse where everyone knows where the key hangs. That matters. A missing key means someone else may have it. And with a missing key, a broken machine room lock, footprints that do not leave, and steps in your attic, you do not have a haunted house. You have a house with someone in it. Now you need the family tensions, because a house does not get watched for no reason. This family had reasons to be watched. Victoria Gabriel was 35. She lived with her parents. Not normal then, but the farm was in her name. On March 11, 1914, her parents transferred ownership to her and her husband, Carl Gabriel. Carl was from Weidhofen. He moved in. A few months later, war. Carl was called up. He died at Arras on December 12, 1914. That is the official line. His body was never recovered, but 2 soldiers who served with him, Josef Bichler and Nicholas Haas, said later they saw his body on the field. Keep that. You will hear the opposite soon. Victoria had a daughter then, Cecilia, born January 9th, 1915. 7 years old in 1922. She went to school. She was bright. Her friend later said something odd. The night before the murders, Victoria fought with Andreas violently. She ran out into the forest. She was found hours later. No one knows why she ran. No one wrote it down at the time. Keep that fight in your head. Then there was Josef, 2 years old, born September 7th, 1919. Small, in a bassinet in the mother's room. His birth created a local scandal. In 1915, Andreas and Victoria were convicted of incest at Neuburg District Court. Between 1907 and 1910, Andreas got 1 year in prison. Victoria got 1 month. In 1919, after Josef was born, Victoria told her lover Lorenz Schlittenbauer that Josef was not his. She said the boy was her father's. Through continuing abuse, Schlittenbauer reported Andreas, then withdrew the complaint, then repeated it under oath at trial. The court did not convict Andreas, but Andreas made statements on the stand that were, in the court's words, incriminating. He did not get compensation for his pretrial detention. Schlittenbauer agreed to adopt Josef. On paper, not in love. You think this is a lot of dirty laundry for a farm? It is. Now put yourself in that village. Everyone knows. Everyone talks. Andreas forbade Victoria to marry or leave. Everyone knew that too. That control is a motive report, not proof, but a reason. Take Lorenz Schlittenbauer. He is not a side note. He is the neighbor, a farmer nearby. He had a relationship with Victoria after his first wife died in 1918. He thought Josef was his son. Then he was told no, or yes, depending on the day. He had a legal fight over paternity and money. He knew the house. He knew where people slept. He knew the key was missing. Remember that. Now picture Friday, March 31st, 1922. Afternoon. A woman walks up the lane to Hinterkaifeck with her sister. Her name is Maria Baumgartner, 44 years old, new maid. Her sister escorted her and stayed a short while, then left. Maria had 1 day of work ahead of her. 1 day. She unpacked. She met the children. She was killed that night. Think about that. Someone waited until a new maid arrived, or someone did not care who the maid was. Both are awful. One means planning. One means indifference. Andreas had told several neighbors that week about the footprints and the newspaper. He did not call police. He did not let anyone stay. He checked the attic himself, found nothing. That night, someone woke the barn's animals, or someone made a noise to pull people out. The old theory in the court record says the restless animals drew them to the barn, but later investigators showed you cannot hear the barn from the house, so that theory is wrong. Keep that. The official file guessed. They guessed badly. Go back to that Friday evening. Light fades early at the end of March. By 7, it's dark. By 8, the house is quiet. Someone is already inside. Or someone is waiting outside the barn door. The family is about to be lured one by one through the stable into the barn. And you might say, hold on. This is already too many warnings. A missing key, prints in snow, steps above your bed, a newspaper you didn't buy. Why didn't they leave? Why didn't Andreas do something? That is the right question. And the skeptic in you is right to ask it. The answer is not clever. The answer is that Andreas Gruber was a controlling, proud, convicted man who did not believe anyone could scare him off his own farm. That pride filled the house like smoke. You can tell yourself you would have left. You wouldn't have. You would have locked the door you could not lock because the key was gone, and waited. Let's name them properly. Not as a list. As people who died in one night. Andreas Gruber, 63, born November 9th, 1858. Farmer, owner in practice if not on paper. Convicted once, called hard by everyone who met him. Cecilia Gruber, 72, born November 27th, 1849. His wife, married first to Joseph Assam, mother of 3 before this marriage, owner who brought Hinterkaifeck into the family in 1877 after her divorce settlement. She kept the farm's books and its silence. Victoria Gabriel, 35, born 1887. Their daughter, widowed, mother of 2, farm owner on paper since March 1914. Sharp say reports, caught between father and lover and children. She had been to court with her father in 1915 and again lived under his roof after. Cecilia Gabriel, 7, born January 9th, 1915. Schoolgirl. She missed school April 3rd and 4. Her teacher noticed. Her friends said she had told them her mother ran to the forest the night before the killings. She died in the barn, not quickly. The autopsy found she lived hours. She tore out hair in tufts. In her hands, Joseph, 2, born September 7, 1919, in a bassinet in his mother's bedroom. He never reached the barn. He was killed in his bed. One blow to the right side of his head. That's it. Maria Baumgartner, 44, new maid, arrived March 31st. Sister walked her there. Last to be seen alive with the family. Found in her chamber, also killed in bed. She worked one day. She had left a previous job to take this one. Wrong move. 6 people, 1 house, 1 barn, 1 weapon. Added up. 5 from one family and 1 stranger who walked in for work. Now 4 days where no one looked. That is the scandal before the crime. April 1st, Saturday, morning. 2 coffee sellers knock. Hans and Edward Shirovsky. They have an order to take. They knock on door. No answer. They knock on window. Nothing. They walk the yard. The gate to the machine room is open. That matters because Andreas would never leave it open. They leave. April 2nd, Sunday. The family does not appear for church. In rural Bavaria in 1922, that is an alarm. The priest notices. The village notices. Cecilia does not appear for school the next days. That is a second alarm. No one goes to check. April 3rd, Monday. Mail piles up. The postman notices. Still no one checks. You want to blame them. Don't be smug. The farm is a kilometer off the road. People mind their business. And the house looks lived in, because it is lived in. On the night of April 1st, 2 walkers saw something. At 3 in the morning, farmer Simon Reislander was near Brunnen, heading home. He saw 2 figures at the edge of the forest near Hinterkaifeck. When they saw him, they turned away so their faces could not be seen. He did not report it right away. Who would? 2 figures could be anyone. Later on April 1st, artisan Michael Pleckel passed Hinterkaifeck. He saw smoke from the chimney. The oven was being heated. An occupant came out, blinded him with a lantern, shone light in his eyes. Pleckel left fast. He also said the smoke smelled revolting, like something burning that should not be burned. No one examined the oven after. That chance was lost. Cooked evidence went up the chimney. Now April 4th, Tuesday, morning. A man rides a bicycle to the farm. This is the mechanic who waited in a house with no hosts, Albert Hoffner. He is 22, an assembler from Groburn, hired to repair the engine of the feed chopper. The appointment had been moved because weather was bad the week before. Now it is set for April 4th at 9. Hoffner arrives before 9. He finds the yard gate locked from the courtyard side. He shouts. No one comes. He looks through kitchen window. No one. He looks through barn window. He hears the animals, cows lowing, dog barking inside the barn. He figures the family is out. He waits an hour. Alone. An hour with 6 bodies 10 meters away, and he does not know it. Then he starts work. He works alone on the engine for about 4.5 hours. He later said no one let him in, but also no one stopped him. He worked, left. He told someone later the feed had been given. The cows had been fed that morning, by someone. Think about that line. The cows had been fed that morning. April 4th, 4 days after the murders of March 31st. Someone fed them every day. At about 3:30 that afternoon, the neighbor who would become the prime suspect sends 2 boys, Lorenz Schlittenbauer. He tells his son Johann, 16, and his stepson Josef Dick, 9, to walk to Hinterkaifeck and see if they can get contact. The boys go. They see no one. They report back. So Schlittenbauer himself goes, with 2 neighbors, Michael Pohl and Jakob Sigel. They arrive and find all doors locked. They force a gate to get into the barn. What they find stops the story cold. Picture the barn. Dark, straw, hay. 4 bodies under hay, stacked. Andreas Gruber, 63. Cecilia Gruber, 72. Victoria Gabriel, 35. Young Cecilia, 7. All with heads smashed by a mattock. All hidden under hay and a door, not buried, covered. Young Cecilia is not dead immediately, as you heard. She will die there over hours, pulling her hair out, lying next to her dead mother and grandparents. The report says tufts were found in her hands and cut from the straw around her. Take this one case and see it. A 7-year-old survives the blow. She is under straw. She can hear someone moving in the house. Footsteps away. She cannot call out. She dies. Schlittenbauer and the others find that scene. Then something strange happens. Schlittenbauer unlocks the front door to the house and goes inside alone. How? The key had been missing for days. The doors were said to be locked when they arrived. Yet he unlocks it. Without issue, say 2 witnesses. He says he went to look for little Joseph. He goes alone when it is unclear if the killer is still there. He disturbs the bodies, moves them, compromises the scene. Paul and Sigel later complain about it. The court record notes it. Inside, they find the other two, Maria Baumgartner in her bedchamber, Joseph in his bassinet in Victoria's room, both struck with the same tool. One blow for Joseph, on the right side. Maria also in bed. She had been there one night. You would think a killer in a hurry would run. This one walked to the beds and finished in the dark. Here is your satisfying wrong answer, and I will give it to you straight so you can hold it a minute before I take it away. It was robbery. Wandering vagrants, craftsmen, strangers after money. That is what Munich police thought first. Inspector George Reingruber led the team from Munich the next day. They chased that theory. They questioned travelers. They looked for vagrants. They had reason. Post-war Bavaria was full of moving men. The farm was known to have money, and the footprints from the forest looked like a stranger approach. That story feels clean. Stranger comes, kills, takes cash, leaves. You can picture it like a mugger on a lane. Hold that story, because it will collapse on one fact you can check in your kitchen. If it was robbery, where is the missing money? There is none. A large amount of money was found in the house, on the bodies, in the rooms, untouched. The killer left money and the dog alive. Robbers do not feed cows. Robbers do not stay 3 days and cut bread and eat meat from the pantry. The kitchen showed bread eaten, meat cut fresh, pantry used. Investigators saw it the day after discovery. Someone had eaten the entire supply of bread. Someone had recently cut meat. So you might now say, and you would be right to say it, ruder than this. This is nonsense. If you have 6 dead bodies and a killer who stays and eats bread, you would smell it, hear it, see smoke, and someone would call the police. How does no one notice for 4 days? How does a mechanic work 4.5 hours 10 meters from stacked corpses and notice nothing? That's not possible. It is possible. And that is the mechanism. The mechanism is not magic. It is the building. At Hinterkaifeck, house and barn are 1 block. You walk from kitchen to stable without going outside. The walls are thick. The barn is separate enough that sound does not carry. The court record even notes that noise from the barn cannot be heard in the house. That cuts both ways. Noise from the house cannot be heard in the barn. And if 4 people are buried under hay in the barn, you will not smell them from the kitchen if the door between is closed and the wind is cold. At the end of March, ground still frozen, air still winter. Now add what the killer did to hide. He covered the barn victims with hay. He laid a door over them, not to bury, to hide. He left the house victims in beds. He closed doors. He kept the stove going. Smoke from the chimney is normal. A farm with smoke looks alive. Cows fed look alive. A dog not barking looks alive. He did not need to be invisible. He needed to look normal at a distance. Picture what neighbors saw from 600 meters away. Through trees, a roof, smoke, quiet, no one coming to town. That's not alarm. That's a farm in late winter. People kept to themselves. The Grubers were not liked. Andreas was known to chase off help, so no one checked. And picture what Hoffner saw at 9 on April 4th. He saw a locked gate. He heard cows. He heard a dog. He assumed absence. Why would he assume murder? His job was a motor. He had cycled there. He was paid to fix, not to search. He waited, fixed, left. He did not open the barn because he had no reason. The gate he could see was the machine room gate. It was open on April 1st when the coffee sellers came. On April 4th, Hoffner says it was locked from inside the yard side. That means someone changed it between April 1st and April 4th. Someone moved in that yard. Now picture the house that afternoon. The killer has been there 3 nights. He has eaten bread until none is left. He has cut meat. He has milked? No record of milking. But cows were fed. The dog was still in the barn. The report is messy on the dog. Some say the Spitz was unharmed. Some say it had an injured eye and was agitated, barking at strangers. Either way, it was alive. That matters. A family dog barks at strangers. The Gruber dog was known as very watchful. Pohl said it barked at almost all visitors. Sigel said the same. Yet neighbors later said the dog did not bark that week the way it should have. Cressens Rieger, the old maid, said the dog never barked at Anton Bichler, the farmhand who helped at harvest. That is a thread we will come back to. For now, hold that the dog's silence is a clue to familiarity. Someone slept in a bed. The bed was found slept in, not made, after discovery. Someone used the fireplace. Neighbors saw smoke on April 1st, 2, and 3. Someone ate. The bread run out. That is not a robber. That is a resident. You ask how a killer can sleep with bodies under hay 10 meters away. The answer is the worst part. He could because he already lived with them while they watched him. Remember the attic steps for 6 months. Remember the newspaper. Remember the key. The theory that explains the staying explains the warnings. Someone was already living in the house before March 31st. In the attic. Coming down when the family slept. Taking food. Learning where they slept. Taking a key. Breaking a lock. Leaving prints that go in and do not come out because they never left. That does not prove who. But it proves how you can stay 3 days without being seen. You already know where the boards creak. You already know the dog knows you. So who? If you want a name with motive, knowledge, and a key, you have one. The neighbor who found them, Lorenz Schlittenbauer. He knew the farm. He had been inside as Victoria's lover. He knew where the mattock was kept. Farmhand Georg Siegel later said that tool was his work, and he knew where it sat in the barn. Schlittenbauer would have known too. He had motive as villages count motive. Victoria told him Joseph was his, then said no, said the child was her father's. He had paid, or agreed to pay, then been humiliated. Andreas blocked any marriage. That is not a small thing in a Catholic village in 1922. A man told he is a father and then told the father is the grandfather. He had behavior that still reads badly. First, he led the discovery. He sends the boys. Then he goes with Pol and Sigel. He finds 4 bodies. Then he opens a locked house, alone, without a key he should not have. He says to find Joseph. He moves bodies. He moves a door over the hay. He steps through a crime scene that Munich will try to read the next day. He destroys footprints. He had won slander suits before his death in 1941 against anyone who called him murderer. He sued and won. That is not innocence. That is a man with a lawyer. Second, he says things only a killer would know. In 1925, he is found at the demolished farm. Asked why he is there, he says the killer tried to bury the bodies in the barn, but the frozen ground stopped him. How does he know the ground was frozen at burial? He farms next door. He could guess, but it is specific. It sounds like memory, not guess. You want to close the case there. Many did. Over 100 suspects were questioned over decades. Last interrogations as late as 1986. But the police never charged him. No fingerprint taken. Fail. No scene protection. Fail. No time of death fixed well. Fail. The suspicion stayed as gossip, not proof. And here is where you, the skeptic, are right. And I will concede it plainly around this mark, because you deserve it. You are right that the case against Schlittenbauer is thin in the way village cases are thin. Familiarity is not murder. A man can be calm at a crime scene because he is cold, not guilty. A man can open a door because the lock was already broken, not because he pocketed the key. A man can know about frozen ground because he is a farmer who knows March ground is frozen like a rock. You are right to say that if Lorenz did it, why feed the cows? A man killing out of paternity shame does not stay to milk. Or does he? That is the problem. The staying does not fit a hot blood killing. It fits a cold, housed person. So let's change gear. Stop arguing. Go to the barn as it was that Tuesday afternoon when the 3 men pulled the hay back. It is quiet. Dust in the light from the barn door. The hay is dry. Under it, 4 shapes. Andreas first, on his stomach. Cecilia beside him. Victoria beside them. Little Cecilia a little apart. Her face is destroyed. Her hands are near her face. In one hand, tufts of her own hair. She pulled it as she died. Over hours, she heard the house. She heard someone above her close the door. No one heard her. Add it up. A 7-year-old's last work is to pull her own hair because pain has no other place to go. Down the passage, through the stable wall, 2 small rooms. In one, Maria Baumgartner lies in a narrow maid's bed. Her head wound is similar. In the next, a bassinet. Joseph is in it, 2 years and 7 months old. 1 blow. He did not wake beyond that. There is no sign of robbery. There is a sign of someone making coffee. There is a sign of someone sleeping in Victoria's bed. The autopsy will be done in that barn the next morning, April 5th, by the man who cut into 6 heads by daylight, Johann Baptist Aumüller. He will say all died of blunt force to the head, by a mattock, a farm tool with a blade one end and a pick the other, belonging to the farm. He will find the younger Cecilia was alive for hours. He will help have the heads removed and sent to Munich, and the building will stand 1 more year before it is torn down. There are 2 other stories you will hear online. Handle them. One is the husband who came back from the dead, Carl Gabriel. The idea sells. Man reported dead in 1914 shows up in 1922 and kills the family that replaced him. The file took it seriously at first. Then it fell apart. Josef Bichler and Nikolaus Haas said they saw Karl's body. Later, after the Second World War, some released prisoners said a Soviet officer who spoke German claimed to be the Hinterkaifeck killer. Some jumped to say that was Karl having become a Russian. No body, no record, no match, and motive fails. Why kill your own daughter Cecilia if you are Karl? Why kill the maid who never knew you? Why feed the cows? The other story is the incest shame. That Andreas's abuse of Victoria produced Joseph, and someone killed to hide or avenge it. The conviction in 1915 is real. 1 year for Andreas, 1 month for Victoria. The later claim that Joseph was Andreas's is real, from Victoria herself to Schlittenbauer in 1919. But murder to hide incest in 1922 makes no sense. The courts already knew. The village knew. The shame was public, not secret. Killing 6, including 2 children and a maid with no connection, does not hide that. It shouts it. Other names were thrown in. Adolf Gump and his brother Anton, linked to a far-right Freikorps unit that had killed 9 farmers in Upper Silesia in 1921. His sister Crescentia Mayer said on her deathbed they did it. Anton was held, then released in 1954 for lack of proof. 2 brothers, Karl and Andreas S., named by a 12-year-old girl called Therese T. in 1971, who said their mother boasted they lost a penknife at Hinterkaifeck. A penknife was found in the hay during demolition in 1923. It could have been anyone's, even a victim's. Peter Weber, who bragged to his roommate Joseph Betts in 1919 about killing a family for money. The Bichler brothers, Anton and Karl, who knew the farm and the dog. Georg Ziegel, who carved the Matic handle. Each theory has a fact and a hole. What ties them is this: no one was charged. The Munich team contaminated the scene. They let walkers cook meals in the kitchen. They did not take fingerprints. Fingerprints were common practice then. The Fürstenfeldbruck Review in 2007 said so plainly. The heads sent to Munich for clairvoyants to read were lost in World War II. So the bodies in Weidhofen are headless. The farm was demolished in 1923. Evidence gone. You cannot fix that with podcasts. In 2007, 15 students at the police academy in Fürstenfeldbruck took Hinterkaifeck as a training case. They worked with modern techniques. They read the original files. They agreed the first investigation was meticulous for its time, apart from forensics. And they agreed on a prime suspect. All 15, same name. They did not release it. Out of respect for living relatives, they said. That tells you something. The name is not a stranger. It is a family that still lives in the area. You can guess. Many do. The academy will not confirm. The farm was torn down a year after. The mattock with dried blood was found hidden in the attic during demolition, not at the first search. A penknife in the hay. Both could have solved it earlier if found. The shrine now stands where the house stood. A concrete cross. Next to it, a stone. In Weidhofen Cemetery, 6 graves without heads. Skulls lost in the chaos of Munich in the war. No DNA. No faces to test. That is your new material, not a summary. A killer lived days with bodies, fed animals, left money, and a modern police class thinks they know who, but will not tell you, because someone's grandchild still shops in Schrobenhausen. Who do you think stayed? The neighbor with the key, the husband who did not die, the far-right killer with a penknife, or someone who lived in that attic longer than anyone guessed? Put your theory in the comments, but put it with the facts we have. 6 people, 1 night, 1 mattock, 3 days of smoke, and a file sealed out of respect. If you want more cases where the house keeps the secret longer than the bodies, subscribe. Next time we go inside another farm where the walls heard everything. The question that remains is not who had motive. Everyone did. The question is who knew the dog well enough to make it stay quiet.